All right, so we are here back at it again. Commanders in the chat, episode 62. We are back. Rob, I want to, in the famous words of Jim Gray, how was your summer?
It was good. It was exciting. A couple things happened here and there. I don't know if you heard, but we got a new owner. Oh, no more
Yes,
Dan Snyder. Things are looking up. Just excited for the future, man. A lot happened this over this offseason with this team, and I mean, you know as well as anybody how excited this fan base is as a whole.
absolutely. And it's funny, this would be our third season covering the Washington Commanders. We were Washington football guys. Then
Yep.
the last two seasons were Commanders, and this season, last season now, it's the Commanders. Yeah, this is probably by far, I think, out of 3 years that we've covered this team together, this is the most excited I've been about this franchise. Like, I mean, it's so much, like you said, the optimism of Josh Harris, new ownership group, and this is something that we even touched on. When we last season, when there were certain inklings and rumors, and we were all like, both of us were like skeptic of like, okay, is this going to happen? Like, something's going to happen in the 11th hour. It was like, all right, I felt like we was getting teased ever since like November, and
Right.
then then a part of me was like, okay, what's gonna happen in this owners meeting? And then there was unanimous decision, so that pretty much was it. So I guess we definitely allude to that topic right now. So, your thoughts on Josh Harris, the now what they deem now is the managing partner of the Commanders. So, your thoughts on Josh Harris?
Um, uh, just excitement, seeing what he's been able to do with what seems like the 76ers. He when he bought them, he basically saw them through what we now call the process. In the tanking for better draft picks for about 3, 4, I think probably even 5 straight seasons. Now it's cultivated in 5 straight playoff appearances, a league MVP in Joel Embiid. Um, so he's shown that he puts the right people in places to run a successful organization. Unfortunately for the Sixers, it hasn't directly correlated to a championship yet. That remains to be seen if that's going to happen. But given what this fan base has gone through the last 24 years, dating back to when Dan Snyder bought the team in 1999, even just something as some consecutive playoff appearances, because in the 24 years Dan Snyder has on this team, we've never been made to made the playoffs back to back seasons, I believe. Um, so it's just something that, again, just excitement for the fan base. If you follow the Commanders' Twitter at all, you've seen that last week they announced that they had standing room only tickets available for this Sunday's game. I mean, the game's completely sold out. So it's a time for a new chapter in DC, and everybody's excited.
Yeah, and I agree with you as well. Where the optimism, and I think the thing, and it's funny, this is different than kind of the Dan Snyder administration, where okay, he came in as a fan. I love like he won me at the press conference. I think when you look at, he talked about how at the time the Washington Redskins at that time of how prestigious it was to walk down certain streets and leading up to RFK, and just the magic that was on Sundays, and just showing you that he understands the significance and the history and the tradition of this team. Obviously, from him being from Chevy Chase, Maryland, he
Yep.
gets it. I just love the fact, even like little small things. I love the fact that when they had a celebration, he bought everybody in that event like beer.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool, and I think I think one day during training camp they were giving out ice cream, like little stuff like that. Even though people, in the grand scheme of things, that makes a difference. That's your owner cares, and I was impressed in that Cleveland game in all that weather. Josh Harris was out there amongst the fans in his poncho, and I
Yep.
was like, you know what? This is somebody that gets it, and I love the fact that he said, with this team now, they can focus on football and that being in the headlines. That to me, and Robin, and you think about, we talked about it. This is our third year covering this team. I guarantee you, if you look at all the episodes we have done, I will guarantee you about 85% of stuff. We're not talking X's and O's. We've been talking about stuff that's within this organization. I mean, he's probably maybe a little bit hyperbole, maybe about 75-80% of stuff, that wasn't football related due to this team. So I love the fact that he did that. And even the fact of having like Magic Johnson at a 4% stake, I definitely think that's great as well. He brings somewhat of a Midas touch as well. You look at the success that he's had with the Dodgers. So like you said, this is gonna be this is optimism at its finest. Like I definitely think Josh Harris is gonna lead us in the right way, and I'm excited. This is like you said, the standing room only, where that's amazing. The first game is a sellout.
Yeah.
And the way things are going, this could be a situation where we might be selling standing room only tickets throughout the year. So
Yep.
just to keep
To
that
go
momentum going.
where we're at now in a sellout week one to where we were at last year, and where most of the conversation about the attendance was, wow, there's a lot of visitors. There's a lot of visiting team fans here. There's a lot of Cowboy fans here. There's a lot of Bears fans here. There's a lot of um, Patriots fans here. Like it was a lot of opposing teams fans packing FedEx Field that was making it essentially a home game for those teams. To go from that to now we're sold out, standing room only tickets, and I think even those are sold out now. That place is going to be bumping. I wish I could be there. I'm excited to watch the game. Yeah, it's a whole different vibe going into this season.
Yeah, and it's gonna be fun to watch. And this is like you said, that speaks volumes. So, and I don't know, and I definitely want to kind of gauge your thoughts on. We obviously had the undefeated preseason. I know a lot of people look at it as, oh, it's no big of a deal. It is what it is. Some people are saying, it's a good sign. I want you to know, what was your thoughts on our undefeated preseason?
So it depends on the team on whether or not preseason matters. For a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, a preseason doesn't matter because you know the team you're getting. We know what Patrick Mahomes is. You're not going to be surprised by anything. Somebody like the Commanders, who we assumed Sam Howell going into this season was QB1, but it wasn't solidified until I think after week one of the preseason. Um, that's when you're trying to figure out who's going to make this roster. That's the point of preseason. Um, this team had a lot of weaknesses last year, especially at the linebacker position, especially in the secondary. Um, Offensive line was a huge area of concern for us last year too. So for a team like the Commanders, that you need to shore up those spots. You don't know what you're going to get in those certain positions. Preseason is good. Winning games is always good. The Ravens won every preseason game since, what was it, 2017, 2015, something like that. So obviously, it matters to an extent. You're still playing the game. You're getting paid to play this game. They're keeping score, so the goal should always be to win. But obviously, we're not going to sit here and say that Commanders are going 17-0 because um, back when the Lions went 0-16, that preseason they were undefeated. They went 4-0 in the preseason. So it's not vindicative. It's not indicative of what your season's going to bring, but it's still nice to see your team, especially basically our new quarterback, um, build that cohesion with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that as well. He's like, the last time Washington was undefeated in the preseason was 2013, and lo and behold, what that got us, one of the worst seasons
Yep.
that we've had, and this one felt different. I think you look at the Cleveland win. I did like, it was certain points in that Cleveland game, that goal line stand, with Cleveland first team on, getting that stop with Deshaun Watson and company. I loved it. Like, to me, that was a great thing. Then those, inter squad scrimmages with the Ravens, and we took them serious. And I'm gonna say this out loud: we kicked their ass every single day.
Yep.
Do it, and that's like, you know what? That just shows you that grit, and it's just like, and it shows you, like, they try to test our boy Forbes. Oh, Forbes ain't no punk. You think he just because he 170 something pounds soaking wet. Oh, that dude's a dog.
Oh
So
yeah.
they played that, and then you look at like when in the Monday night game where you looked at how that game, strangely or not, it felt like a regular season game. It felt like a prime time regular season game. They took that serious. That's why I think when we even in the years that we've discussed it, we kind of just our biggest hope was okay, don't get injured. Well, I know my biggest hope was don't get injured because we knew we necessarily didn't take preseason, with a grain of salt. But I think they really played, they played very hard each
Yeah.
games, and even in the Cincinnati game, Jake Fromm, he did his thing to engineer that kind of somewhat of a comeback for us. So yes, it's like you said, it's not indicative of what the season's gonna be. We definitely not gonna be 17-0, but this team has a different focus. This is different. This is definitely different than the years past, and I definitely think they took the preseason serious. They took going up to Baltimore and took that serious. Where especially when you have a team like a Baltimore who takes the preseason serious, who takes just about everything serious, and that's why they're one of the class teams of the league. So,
Right.
and for us to pretty much out physical, just beat them in all phases. We won the battles and we won the fights.
Yeah.
So I loved it, and yeah, so yeah, I'll roll with it. So yeah,
And
so
another thing,
mhm.
sorry, but just real
Yeah,
quick,
you good, you
I,
good.
I remember a lot of people saying, on Twitter, "Oh, this is the Commanders. This is their Super Bowl." They said during practice they don't care about the record, but clearly they do. Oh, and the biggest one was, oh, they went up against the Ravens backups and third strings. Like, first of all these players are in the NFL. Like, they're all dogs. Number one. Number two, like you said, we kicked their ass in practice all week. Sam Howell was out there balling. Marlon Humphreys commented on how impressed he was with Sam Howell. So this wasn't just the first time the Ravens saw them. They were practicing with them all week. They saw what Sam Howell's about. They saw what Eric Bieniemy is doing with this offense, and they know that this seems for real.
Right. I know, and it's just like, and that's what I said. That's that hate, and it's just like what, it is what it is. It's our Super Bowl. You know what? Whatever. It's like we'll show you. We'll show you some Super Bowl caliberness. Just wait on it. Just wait on it. But yeah, man, they always do that. But yeah, it's a new day. So there has been some. If we talk about the good, some people may look at this as a negative in some regard. Some look at it from just from a, whatever lens. So obviously, a few things is going on with Chase. Obviously, he's still questionable for Sunday's game against Arizona. Suffered that stinger in the preseason against Cleveland a little over a month ago. Well, not even a month. It's been about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You got that. Then coupled with the fact in the offseason that the Commanders did not pick up on this fifth-year option, where potentially he may be a free agent come next offseason. So, and then obviously you got the fan base who are really bullish on him. They're ready to get rid of him. I know I've been on a few shows where one of the questions that was asked to me like, "Hey, should you get rid of Chase Young? Should you trade him now so you get something in return?" Like, so what's your overall thoughts on just Chase Young, like as far as um, you know, just everything as far as all things related to Chase.
I think it's an interesting strategy what they're doing because they did the same thing with Deron Payne. They didn't pick up his fifth year option. They were able to get a deal signed with him, a long term deal signed with him, keep him on board. Him and Jonathan Allen up front, arguably, I believe, is the best interior lineman duo in the league. You don't get better than that. Um, but ultimately, yeah, I say trade him unless if Chase Young ends up having a defensive player of the year caliber type season, like he's in that conversation for DPOY, he's up there with the Nick Bosa's, with the TJ Watts, with the Aaron Donald. In that, if he's in that stratosphere, you throw the bank at him because you have Sam Howell for 3 more years on this fifth round rookie deal, which I think is $950,000 a year. Which I mean, I wish I was making 950K a year. But for an NFL quarterback, like we just saw about 30 minutes ago, Joe Burrow just signed a $275 million contract. So 950 is you're liking those numbers. Somebody who can play at a high level. So if you're able to keep him for the next 3 years on that type of deal, and then probably if he plays well, extend him. You still have him for those 2 years or however much the rest of his rookie contract. It's not until after that the extension money takes place, goes into effect, and then he's taking up more cap. So if he's not playing at a defensive player of the year caliber season, I think he's very much trade bait at the trade deadline because he can be useful for another team. Maybe we get a third and a fourth for him, maybe a two and a five, just something that we can use later on down the line. But I do think that if he's not playing at a TJ Watt type level, you got to let him go.
Yeah, and I think with Chase, um, I see what people in essence are kind of bullish on him, but I know I'm not. I think people look at how that rookie year, 7.5 sacks. Then last year, then 2021, he kind of struggled. Then had the injury, and then came back a little. He came back in the tail end of the season last year. He was impactful, but not what we used to that rookie year. So
Right.
a lot of people are looking at it from he kind of he in essence took a step down. And I agree with your point now, Rob. After what you're saying, if we're looking at if he's not at a point where he's at least, I say if he's not at least at a double digit sack trajectory by the time we hit a few weeks prior to, let's see, probably after that Philly game on the 29th, because I think the trade deadline may be like the next week or whatever. Gauge it then. And then, like you
Yeah.
said, if he's in the, I say if he's got like 7 sacks, then okay, maybe you want to trade him potentially, or maybe if he's at like 11, 12 at that time, which could be a possibility. I mean, we just never know. If he's in that double digit range at after we play Philly on the 29th of October, then I think you keep him. But like I said, if he said that I say between 5 and like 7 sacks during that time, then I think you said you can trade them. And like you said, you could potentially get a third or fourth round pick, even with that production.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, because a lot of people will be like, well, it just ain't gonna work out here. It'll work out for where we at. And like you said, he could be a part of a team, especially that if a team is in a hunt in a sense, or they're missing that edge rush, then that spice up the pot as well. So the compensation might be a little bit higher. So like you said, it's one of those where it's a gauge and see, and like it's kind of like a wait and see type approach. But
Yeah.
I definitely want Chase to be on this team. I definitely think he's one of the leaders of this team. So I definitely I've always liked Chase Young. So I think this is just one of those where we just gotta play it out,
Yeah.
and hopefully he'll be able to play on Sunday. So that's another one too where if Sundays, if he doesn't show on Sunday, that's one of those where the value it's weird. We're like, I won't say we're in a weird spot, but it's just you just look at it where from a standpoint of we got it's gonna be a little dicey.
Yeah.
It's how this all gonna play out, but hoping the best for Chase and for him. So we kind of talked a little, as far as kind of our top headline stories of the offseason. I mean, we've also had other stuff happening. Obviously, you look at with Eric Bieniemy now as defensive offensive coordinator. Other stories that we talked about in this in the undefeated preseason, new ownership, now a sellout, standing room only tickets are even sold out at this point. So as we talked about all that, what is your expectations for this 2023 squad?
Expectations is, and these might be brash expectations. I expect to be playing meaningful football by Christmas, around Christmas time. I think that we're going to be in the hunt for one of those last three wild card spots, possibly just the last one. But I don't think this team is as bad as people think they're going to be. Um, so I do fully expect us to be in that playoff hunt, maybe even the division race come Christmas time. And kind of like last year, have those games, you know, hurt a little bit more if we lose, based on where we're in the standings. I also expect I expect Ron Rivera to retire at the end of the season. I think this is setting up for this offense is going to be explosive. I do truly believe that, and this is going to set up Eric Bieniemy to take over, and I'm that's something I'm excited for. But all around, just good football. We have finally have a competent offensive coordinator, and many would say no disrespect to Scott Turner, all the disrespect to Scott Turner. He was not his dad. He did a terrible job with the weapons that we had. And I think Jack Del Rio's getting that defense in order. I think that defense played very well the last two seasons under him. Struggled at linebacker, obviously. Corner was good at times. It was in some areas it was bad. That's why we went out and got Emmanuel Forbes at 16. And so far he's looked like a straight dog. So again, expectations be in that playoff hunt come Christmas time.
For sure. And also, and let's salute to that. Let's see if it comes up. I think it is here. Oh, that's right, because I forgot the background. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. So, and follow us on our Facebook page. Just search Commanders in the chat. Shout out to Rob putting out this poll. So, and this is very interesting, like you said, as far as the expectations. Who so pretty much essentially the one that got the most was sneaking into the playoffs at 53%. Coming in second place is in the hunt at Christmas. 14% making a deep playoff run. And then at 10% is Super Bowl appearance / victory. So definitely huge shout out to everybody who participated in our poll. So go on our Facebook page, Commanders in the chat. So and now and obviously the one that I picked was to make a deep run in the playoffs. And when I say deep, I don't necessarily. I'm gonna put it this way. I think we will be a playoff team. I agree with your sentiments, Rob. Where this is a playoff caliber. They'll be playing meaningful football during Christmas, which means hey, we'll be playing the Jets on Christmas Eve, then setting up maybe a potential potential playoff matchup against San Francisco on New Year's Eve. So we might see this team in 3 or 4 weeks after we play them potentially. But I definitely think that this team can make somewhat of a deep run, and I mean more so of win our first playoff game since 2006. That's what I deem as a deep. Not saying they're going to go to the NFC Championship game, but I can see them going to a divisional round potentially. Like as far as the way things are set up, I think how I had it, how I had my NFL predictions. I think we were going to play the Saints. I think we were the 5th seed. We would play the Saints and we would go to New Orleans and beat them, and then we eventually. I think at the time, I think I had them losing to either Philly or San Francisco, but one or the other. So I definitely think that this team, because I think people fail to, like you said, as far as people think that we're going to be bad. I'm like, we were 8-8-1 last year. We were 8-8-1 with a carousel of quarterbacks. Like,
yeah,
dude,
like that's what people don't understand.
Right.
Like Ron Rivera had a four-game winning streak at one point last season and the season before that. Had 2 separate 4-game winning streaks in his tenure. Yes, with the plethora of quarterbacks that we've had this entire time, like the how we're going 8-1 last year, you give this team consistent quarterback play either of the last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
they're for sure playoff team.
And honestly, and I hate to bring up last year, but if Ron Rivera did not start Carson Wentz on New Year's Day, we could be in the playoffs.
Yep.
If be quiet. If Ridgeway then run into that kicker, we would have beat Minnesota.
Yeah.
Be quiet. Be quiet. It's a new season. Stop it. I gotta stop being in midseason form. We just starting off. But that's just showing you, like, even with what we had, like, it was a carousel of quarterbacks that we've had for the last 3 years, and we've been in contention. So I was just like, and it's even better where we have more of an offense, dynamic offense. So that's what I look at from this team. I definitely think they could win their first playoff game in 17 years. So I definitely think that's possible. So yeah, because they you know what, Rob, they gonna understand that ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
They gonna find out. They gonna find out once you got a legitimate quarterback that ain't gonna be benched. You know, we gonna be all right. We if like I always like people been asking me about Sam Howell during the offseason, being on other show stuff. He's not gonna be rattled. So if he gets sacked 9 times against Philly, he's not gonna slam a tablet.
Yeah.
He's not gonna have a tantrum like Wentz and be in a funk and have that issue. He's not gonna throw it short. We got a quarterback that got an arm and can move the football. This is different. But let them. I tell them, just let them do it. Let them say what they got to say, because I'm confident in Sam Howell. I've been confident since day one, since the moment we drafted him.
Yeah, that you have been.
I had his jersey on my wall last year when ain't nobody even know he was on that damn team. So I'm telling them they gonna find out now. Laugh now, but cry later.
And there are a lot of mainstream media pundits, especially NFL Network. Every morning while I'm getting ready for work, I'm watching Good Morning Football. And a lot of them are starting to jump on the Sam Howell hype train, and they're starting to believe in this team. So I think the under the radar stuff is going to kind of fade away pretty quickly if this team comes out and performs the way I expect them to perform. But they're getting a little bit of love here and there, and I think that it's going to carry on and just grow from there. Once the season starts.
Because I'm telling you, man, your boy. I'm telling you, I forgot how Adam Rank had us. I think he had us winning like 5 or 6 games. I'm telling you, when we win our 5th or 6th game, like before Thanksgiving, I'm gonna do like Dion said to Air Warner there. I told you, like
told you we were coming.
Right. I told you we coming. I'll hit a Dion on Adam Rank in a heartbeat. DM him in a heartbeat. But so it is game week. We are less than 72 hours away from the start of our glorious season that is the Washington Commanders this year. So we got to get into some of the game talk. So, Rob, what is your storyline for week 1?
I want to know if this team has a fire in their gut. I want to know if this team who drove, who took the bus, and if they have a fire in their gut.
I'm sorry, Rob.
Because look, no disrespect to the Arizona Cardinals head coach, who I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, Gannon.
Yeah.
Gannon. Yeah.
I don't know who said it on Twitter, but somebody said the fact that the Eagles defense had them in the game in the Super Bowl is a miracle from God. Watching that, I don't even want to call it a motivational speech. That was more like just a phone call, if anything. So I want to know if this team has a fire in their gut, because again, week 1, new ownership, this fan base is going to be rocking. But on a more serious note, one, I want to know if Terry's going to play. Number 1, I think it's going to be huge for this team in this matchup. Number 2, and I know this is the NFL, and I'm not a look past the team type of person, but let's be honest. This team, the Arizona Cardinals, are clearly they're positioning themselves to tank for Caleb Williams if he decides to come out in this upcoming draft. Which his dad said there's no guarantee. which if at this point, if the Cardinals got the number one pick, I wouldn't even blame him at this point. You can make a decent living just playing college football for NIL deals. This team is clearly tanking for Caleb Williams, or if your boy's unlucky enough, Drake May.
Nephew.
Um, so with that being said, can this new revamped offense take advantage of what we are seeing, what I perceive as a very poor team? Over here at the network, we just released our power rankings to start the season, and the Arizona Cardinals were a unanimous 32. Every single person had them at 32. So we're not expecting much from them going into the season. So again, can this team capitalize? Can this offense capitalize on this poor team?
Yeah. Like I said, this is a don't overlook. And it is funny because a lot of people, and I've said, hey, Arizona still have guys, playmakers on this team. I mean, you look at like guys like Buda Baker on the defensive end. You look at even some of their skill positions. You look at Hollywood Brown is there,
Mhm.
Rondell Moore, Greg Dortch. They got some talented guys on this team. And like you said, this could be the early barometer test for them, because this could be a game that you could easily be like, you know what, I can rest on my laurels. This team is bad because I thought we were coming into this matchup with Colt McCoy as their quarterback. I knew once they got rid of him, I was like, yeah, they really want to tank, because at least he could have got you maybe to 6-7 wins. But now you're bringing in Josh Dobbs, even though he has familiar with the offensive coordinator, and then Clayton Tune, and you got to think to yourself, Josh Dobbs getting the start nod, and he just got traded maybe a few like 2 weeks ago, if that.
Yep.
So like I said, you want to see it, and you got to put on a show on for this sellout crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, like you said, the health of Terry and also the health of Chase is going to be the biggest. I know Chase and Terry was limited in practice yesterday, so so yeah. And like I said, don't overlook it, even though Gannon knows our people, he knows our personnel, but he doesn't know our scheme. So I think that's one
Right.
thing where this isn't, people looking at this as a homecoming game. No, there's no homecoming games in the National Football League. Even if you play in the 2019 Washington Redskins, even though we were 3-13, you can get a battle with us.
Right.
But I don't necessarily think. I think when you look at it, like you said, don't look ahead. Just stay focused in this moment and just show this. Show what you got. And I think no letdown. Just continue to And this is just, to me, you start off with great habits this tonight, not tonight, but Sunday, they can carry on to the next week and weekend. So hey, just because we look at them on the surface on paper as an inferior opponent, they still got some dogs in that team. There's still some grown men that you line up against that got babies to feed, wives to support. So yeah.
Yeah. So
So yeah,
yeah, it's again one of the games where they're still NFL players at the end of the day.
facts. So who is your Washington Commanders X Factor?
It's whoever starts at tight end. I don't know if Logan. I haven't read the latest report on Logan Thomas. But I think it's whoever ends up being the starting tight end on Sunday. Because again, with Sam Howell, it's his second start, um, but his first as the guy. He started in Dallas last year as just a, hey, our season's over. Um, let's just see what this guy can do. But now you're QB1 week 1. You're expected to be QB1 in week 17 and through the playoffs, hopefully. So him having that, knowing that they brought Jacoby Brissett in, not to give him a challenge or to even try to overtake him, but just to be a mentor. He knows it's his team, it's his chance. Um, that being said, I believe the tight end is going to be his best friend in the passing game, if not Antonio Gibson, but just that security blanket that a lot of tight ends end up being for young quarterbacks. So as of right now, Logan Thomas, if he starts, if not, then it's obviously whoever starts at that position.
Maybe potentially our guy Cole Turner.
Yeah,
So we should see.
can't be worse
Logan.
than Logan Paulson back in the 2010s.
Oh, shout out to Logan Paulson.
Great commentator. I love his content.
He's awesome.
I love the work he does for the team now. I just did not like the work he did for the team when he was a playing member.
And it's funny because I met him in a comment. I told him, "Hey, I love your analysis." You make the game digestible. Like you make it like anybody who don't know about football, they can understand it. You like as far as basic. I don't know if you remember him and D Hall got in a fight in training camp one year.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember that one, but that was wild. Like yo, this is crazy. Like, but yeah, shout out to Logan Paulson, man. The journeyman tight end. Shout out to him, man.
Yeah.
That's our guy. But yeah, so yeah, I think the biggest X factor is probably going to be the offensive line. And I look at this where there's a reason why Jonathan Gannon is their head coach. Their defense was atrocious last year. I mean, you look at from a pass rush standpoint, none of their guys amassed no more than 5 sacks. So that lets me know that hey, Sam Howell's going to potentially get some time and, like you said, connect with the tight ends, connect with Jahan Dotson and Terry and all those guys. So I think he'll have that time to be in the pocket and survey the field. But it's the offensive line's job essentially to withhold that. I mean, not withhold it, but to maintain that. Right. Even though Arizona has given up. I think last year they were the second worst as far as completion percentage again. As far as opposing quarterbacks. So I look at that from a standpoint of that's a good indication for Sam Howell, because you think about it, even if you look at Arizona, despite Gannon being there, they really didn't make a lot of headway defensively as far as acquisitions. I know they grabbed one of the Philly guys, but for the most part, this is the same personnel but a different coach. So see if we can feed off of that. And then also, like I said, I alluded to it earlier, Jahan Dotson. I definitely think, like you said, I think even if Terry played, because they also, another guy I didn't mention on Arizona end that's a dog as well, is Marco Wilson. So I'm assuming that Marco Wilson's going to be on Terry. So you look at it from a standpoint of, hey, there could be a matchup that could be neutralized. Even I think Terry could go off. Terry could go off and in the bat. Especially if you got him in single coverage. Any of these guys in single coverage are dangerous and deadly. So that's one thing I think that's going to be the beauty about this team, where it's going to be a pick your poison type of offense. And like you said, it ain't going to be like your boy. This a far cry from your boy Scott Turner, He was finna be Cal Shanahan Jr. around these parts.
Man. I'm just glad we don't have there's no more Scott Turner, no more Kyle Allen. I think it's a beautiful day in DC when those two guys are no longer associated with your football team.
Bro, and Kyle Allen, dude, he was somewhere. Dude, I think I don't know where he's at. He's
coaching high school football now.
Bro, no, he's in the NFL, dude. He's still catching checks, bro. I kid you not.
Man, he conned the Bills into paying him some money.
Yep. He Josh Allen back. Oh, the prodigal son coming back to DC in 3 weeks. You better watch out. Or in 2 weeks, you better watch out. Bro, what if that happens if Josh Allen goes down between now and week 3 and Kyle Allen starts? Yo, that would be so crazy. But
that's a dub.
Yeah, I ain't gonna put the cart before the horse, but But we thought we was gonna see Kyle Allen last year when he was with the Texans, so
yeah.
So it is what it is, but yeah, but shout out to Kyle Allen. Even though Rob, that's like it's almost like you hearing the word Kyle Allen is like fingers on a chalkboard.
Oh yeah,
it's
there's so many bad memories.
But hey, yeah, man. Yeah. See, that's another one was a part of our carousel of quarterbacks. See, man, this feels good to actually have a definitive QB1. And I think people don't really realize how much of a luxury that is.
Yeah.
To sit back in the regular season and know who your quarterback is going to be. You know?
It's such a weight off your shoulders, even if you don't know what that quarterback is going to bring. Last time we had a de facto QB1 was Alex Smith. We had him for all of what 6 or 7 games or 9 games, I believe. We were 6-3 when he went down.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been. That was 2019.
Yeah.
That was 20, yeah, you're right. The 2018-2019 season.
Yeah.
That was the last time we had a for sure number one. And even before that, we had Kirk Cousins for all those years. But it was never looked at as a long-term thing because Dan Snyder refused to pay him. And Scott McCullough refused to pay him what the market was dictating. So it's been a long time, and hopefully our search for a quarterback is over. Hopefully in about 3, 4, 5, 6 years he can sign one of these big Joe Burrow type
deals.
Yeah,
and it's a distinct possibility for sure. So we gotta talk about there's some keys to our first victory of the year. What you got, Rob?
Keys to our first victory: protect the ball. And this obviously specifically for the offense in general, but specifically for Sam Howell. Your first, I will say, first real NFL start, as in, again, like I alluded to, or like I said earlier, this is your first. You're the guy. This isn't to see what you can do. We saw what you can do in Dallas last season. We saw what you can do in Baltimore a few weeks ago. You are the guy. Protect the ball. Don't go out there and try to win the Super Bowl in week 1. Don't try to win the MVP in week 1. Protect the ball, play smart, make good decisions, keep the ball in your playmakers' hands, and most importantly, keep the ball in your own hands if you happen to take a sack. Number 2 is this defense has to force turnovers. That was the biggest thing for us last year, in my opinion. We weren't forcing turnovers. We'd get a few here and there, but it wasn't like these other teams, like the top defenses in the league, were forcing like even in our own division. The Cowboys were whatever they were. I don't even remember what their turnover margin was, but it was something crazy. That's where we need to be. We need to be at the very least plus side of that turnover margin. And Joey Sly, just come in clutch when we need you to come in. Kick a field goal every now and again, and don't be like your boy Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah, man. Your boy went to Cleveland. The other night. So what? What did you say?
Good for him.
Oh, I thought you said something else. I was like, whoa. Yeah, shout out to Dustin Hopkins, that fine young man from Florida State University. Yep. But yeah. So my keys are going to be essentially get pressure to Dobbs. I think that's where, like you said, and I think you get that pressure, and and that'll give us opportunity to be on the field more, and get him befuddled. I mean, you even look at even when we played him in preseason, how as far as Josh Dobbs, he's a good guy. I think he was an aerospace engineer. This and the third, probably one of the most smartest guys in the NFL in the academia sense. But man, I think you get him rattled, I think you can shut the door on them potentially win this football game.
Yeah.
So definitely don't want to give him confidence. And taking a phrase from our guy Russell Wilson, let Howell cook. I think this is a matchup where I think you really want to see what he can do. Obviously, we talked about as far as I think this offensive line can hold up for him, give him opportunities to sling the football. And think about it, because I really want to see how he's gonna and how Arizona's going to play, especially when you look at, and I talked about him earlier, Buda Baker, where how he's going to be able to read and kind of see what what Buda Baker's going to do. So I think you're going to one of those where we know he's going to be lurking in the shadows. Is he going to be able to kind of take him off his course and burn him? So that's one thing too, where you look at from that standpoint. Let Howell cook, and I think the other one is essentially, I think so. Those are the two key factors, or two keys. And I think the final key, I think, essentially is, hey, just keep going with this. Like, don't start the tempo early. And I think that's where, especially when you got a team like this on the ropes and on the road, you gotta attack quick, fast, in a hurry. This is where I think this game could be almost like how we played Jacksonville last year, where we attacked early, but we allowed them to come back at. We can't do that this week. This on Sunday. To me, you attack early and you attack often. Don't let your foot off the gas. And I think that's one thing where I want really, and that's why I really want to see how this team is going to handle. I think the slice of adversity they're going to get in this one. Most times we're always faced with a lot of adversity, but I think we're going to get a slice of it, like a small baby slice of it, and how they handle that. This is so. This is just a good opportunity to see where this team will be, and like you said, and like I talked about earlier, the habits, creating those early habits now. When so going forward, when you're playing Denver next week, you're playing Buffalo in 2 weeks, you go up to Philly in 3 weeks. At the beginning of the month, and this and the third, developing those habits now that can last for the duration of the season. So that's concerned. So Rob, we always end the show on a prediction note. So Rob, what's your prediction for this game? What you got? What's your final score of this game?
So y'all gonna laugh at me. Y'all gonna say I'm crazy,
Hey,
but I'm going with it. Like I said before, this team, this Arizona Cardinals team, is not looking to be in running for Super Bowl. They're not going to be a Super Bowl contender. They're trying to get Caleb Williams or Drake May come next April. I think this EB offense is going to show a lot more than what they did in the preseason. I think with a few more weeks after the preseason to get these guys more acclimated with his offense and his verbiage and his vernacular, I think this offense is going to have an explosion. I'm taking Washington 31, Arizona 9.
I tell you, man, this is why we're this is why you and I, with our synergy, is unmatched. I got Washington winning 31-13.
Okay.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, I think this offense is gonna explode against one of the lesser teams in the NFL. I think they're gonna get started early. I think they're gonna find the rhythm. And again, like we said earlier, with the weapons that is at Sam Howell's disposal, even without Terry McLaurin, you put Jahan Dotson at the one. And I think this is going to be a big year for Jahan Dotson. I think Jahan Dotson, when the year's done, he's going to be looked at how Juju Smith-Schuster was looked at when AB was still in Pittsburgh, as he's clearly wide receiver 2, but he could be wide receiver 1 on any other team. I think that's what Jahan Dotson is going to turn into. Curtis Samuel is going to be used in every single which way. He's going to be used a lot in the ways that Tyreek Hill was used to stretch the field. And then you're going to see Antonio Gibson be this team's version of Isaiah Pacheco from the Chiefs last year. He's going to be the Swiss Army knife. He can take it out of the backfield. He can run the sweep, the wheel routes. I think this offense is going to get it going early, and they're not going to slow down. And this defense is I feel like is revamped. I think Emmanuel Forbes is gonna. He's basically between him and Kendall Fuller. They have the two sides, and not even talking about Benjamin St. Juste, who I think is the better overall lockdown DB over Kendall Fuller. I think this team's going to put it all together. I think this is going to be the best complete game that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, especially indicative of our scores, and Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it will be one of those where you'll see this Eric Bieniemy offense at full display, and I think you'll see guys, a ton of guys making plays on this offense. Where this is a multifaceted offense, and just even what we see in the preseason just shows me the versatility of this offense. Even though I guarantee you there was somewhat like vanilla schemes in a sense, but those work. So I definitely want to see, what's up Eric Bieniemy sleeves, and this is hopefully will let people know that okay, he was a part of the success of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mhm.
Because everybody said, well, if you got Andy Reid, you got Patrick Mahomes, it is what it is. People don't realize Eric Bieniemy has been around. He's been the running back coach for years. He even, was a running back coach for Adrian Peterson in Minnesota. This guy's been around, and I think he's really gonna get his due diligence. And they're gonna see. They're gonna find out. They're gonna find out that hey, his offense can go anywhere. If he can fix one of the worst offenses in the last couple of years and turn this into an offensive juggernaut.
Yeah.
Even though they've had this personnel for quite some time. It's just as far as trying to utilizing the proper weaponry that they have. So I think that's one of the main reasons why I think Airbnb came here, because he's seen that this cupboard wasn't empty,
Yeah.
and there's some stuff to work with. So yeah, man. So yes, indeed, we got episode 62 in the books. So Rob, tell them where they can find you on social media and anything that you got going on.
Y'all already know where you can find me, FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Show Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. I have, what do I have coming back next week? I have Cruise Island coming back next week. First episode is going to be on the overvalue of quarterbacks in this league and why it's going to be a detriment to all these teams that are signing big money deals.
That's what's up. Yeah, and I'll pretty much follow all our social medias, Commanders in the Chat. So it's Commanders ITC. So that's pretty much on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and also on Twitter, aka X. So air as well. So we'll have that. Definitely check out our on social media, and then check out my other podcast, Couch Coach Live. We just did an episode last night, so that's on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern, and then we'll be here on Thursday nights 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, man. So once again, hey man, we back in the chat. So definitely, we're back at it here. Starting our third season together, covering this Washington Commanders team, and man, we'll catch you guys next week, and enjoy the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we out.